Oh, yeah.
My guy. We got a lot to unpack here today. Obviously, week 11 now in the books, headed to week 12. But there are so many local teams that we both admire
Sure.
at this time of year. A tough week for the Eagles. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll, we'll glaze over that real quick. I mean, talk to me about. You had your hands full with Cuyahoga Heights. What transpired, and obviously not the outcome we were looking for.
Well, you know what? Our kids played so very hard in that game, and we lost 16-13. Had some really unfortunate things happen in that game. Got to give credit to Cuyahoga Heights. They're a program school, and their coach has been there a long time. He's been in state championship games, and when I tell you that was our best game all year. Our kids approached it with holy seriousness, and they really went after them, and things just didn't work out. You hate talking about. One thing you don't like to do as a coach is, it's not the words blame, but bring up referees. You don't like doing that because you have a lot of plays during the game. We had 3 touchdowns called back.
I was just going to ask you about that.
And, when you watch the film, it becomes even more frustrating afterwards because, you think to yourself, what were people looking at? And you got to give credit to Cuyahoga Heights. Our guys played so hard, even after those calls. I think earlier in the year we would have reacted a lot different, but our kids came a long way, and they showed, true guts and great sportsmanship. Everything you'd really ask as a coach. I went nuts, but you know what? We are what we are, and the fans came out of the stands a little bit, but I give credit to Cuyahoga Heights. They got a tough one this week, but you know what? When we had 2 pass interference calls led to their touchdowns, and then we had
3 touchdowns called back. That's the one that gets me.
It's very difficult, and you know what? I told the referees, and you're not mean to them, but you're talking to them, and you say, hey, if you were on my staff, you'd want me to say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody paid to come and watch you guys in a big game, tight game. I'm not talking about midfield plays, calls. I'm talking about touchdowns. Nobody paid to watch you guys do that. And to take the game, I believe, out of our kids' hands like that, it was tough. And, but credit to Cuyahoga Heights. They didn't have any penalties. And they played the perfect game.
Huh.
And
no penalties, you say?
Well, I think they jumped off sides the last 2 or 3 plays of the game. They might have jumped off sides. But you know what? Again, as a coach, you say to yourself, hey, penalties are part of the game. You got to overcome them. Just those kind of penalties that are touchdowns in a big game, a few of them, it really hurts. And I give my kids a lot of credit. After the game, they were broken, but they acted like men about it. And they weren't over the top. They weren't disrespectful. It was something that we talked about, losing with honor. And we lost with honor. And, our program really took a step forward this year. And there's going to be great things to come from Valley Christian. That I can tell you, believe me.
We can't wait.
Oh, no. There's a lot of great things to come. A lot of kids are back. We're going to miss the seniors, but, you got 16 juniors coming back. I believe one of the best running backs in the area is coming back. He was a freshman this year. And Jay Sean Lindsay, and he'll be back. And there's a lot of kids that have a lot of ability on that team. And we'll miss our seniors. You always do.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm in postmortem because, when you lose every year, unless you win the state title, it's very hard. And that was my 22nd playoff game. And being in those games, either you win and you advance or you lose.
And you're done.
And you're done, and it's like your best dog got shot right in front of you. So, it's very tough. And as a coach, you put in a lot of time. That's your second family. So it's like it's very difficult. But, you learn, and, it's part of life. And then you try to help the kids, that are seniors, whether it's going to college or trade school or service. whatever they want to do, you fight like heck to get them to where they want to be.
So the crazy thing I always ask coaches is there's a lot of, especially on a trip like you guys had, there's a lot of time for reflection on that bus. You said you've been in the playoffs. This is your 22nd appearance. What goes through your head? What kind of, when you're reflecting from point A to point B, getting back into your own car, what are you reflecting about? The game, the season? What is it?
This year more than ever, how far we've come. This is my 22nd year coaching football. And I'm as proud as this team as any team I've ever coached. And has nothing to do with wins and losses. It's the kids that we've helped, how far we've come as a team, really getting the team. They got it at the end. We've been to a couple regional finals and state semifinals before, and those are tough losses. And when you win those games and you lose those games, it's tough, and it's fun. But reflecting on this one, I'm as proud as these kids as I've ever been in any team I've ever coached. And, boy, they've come a long way from the beginning of the season. Probably more. Hey, it probably was our best coaching job that we've ever done.
I love hearing that.
And I mean that because of it's not the X's and O's. It wasn't the Jimmies and the Joes. It was where you start off with 15 kids in a practice and you end with 40. And they really bought in to team, and to see that growth, I'm as proud as this team as I've ever been, and I felt we did our best coaching job. I felt I did my best coaching job ever, and I think that comes with experience and maturation, and they really tried to embody the kids what we were talking about, and they took on our personalities, and they're a scary team here coming up. 2022, watch out for the War Eagle because we're going to have a great off season, and spirits are high. And they were very upset after the game, but it was disappointing, and it was hurtful that the season was over. It wasn't bitterness and blaming. It was a lot of love in the locker room and a lot of love on the bus, and kids bounce back. Sometimes the coaches are the ones that take it much harder.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is when you look at things, Coach, that reflection that you had on the bus, did any of it, because we've all seen a different side of you, and we've all seen a different side of your coaching staff this year. What did you take away, and how did you grow this year?
I was in a unique situation this year. I was coming back off of a situation in which I was given a second chance. And I am eternally grateful for Valley Christian to believe in me and, with no pun intended, with the grace of God. And I was given a second chance, and I was supported. That is a great school. And when I tell you it's a great school, throw out public, private, throw out all that stuff. That's a tremendous school. People support their coaches. Administration supports the coaches. No strings attached. They never told me about winning. They never said they treat the kids right and help them grow as human beings. That was our message. We went out of our way to get the kids gear. Mr. Kufleitner, Mr. Sebo, Mr. Moransky went out of the way to take care of our kids on several occasions and make them feel like they're part of a real program. I like to see a lot of these coaches and a lot of these kids go to South High and practice every day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of these teams in the area, they don't know what they have.
Yep.
If someone asked me, what do you need the most, Hake? Oh, running water. That's what we would really like, running water at the stadium. And it puts things in perspective.
It sure does.
So, you know what? Having to get water every day, having to just do little things that I never was used to. It was a humbling experience. It was a great experience. And I'm not looking to go anywhere else. I'm looking to stay right there and keep it going. And we're going to build. We're going to be better. We're going to be great. And that I can tell you. And believe me, the kids are heck bent on it, and the administration is very supportive, and it was fun. I think we made Valley Christian football fun again, and we're going to continue to grow and go from there. The kids are wonderful. They're city kids. They have hopes and dreams like everybody else. For them to reach their hopes and dreams is tougher sometimes. It is. You know what? Let's be honest. Let's be real.
With the resources they have available.
You live in a city. It's tougher to reach your hopes and dreams than it is opposed to living in some of these other rural communities. So the kids are up against it, and I'm not saying, oh, poor us. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
It's the realities of the situation. You could look at the reality of a situation and be honest about it. And I just give our kids a lot of credit for hanging in there all year. I had kids whose parents had cancer, and I'd go let them work twice a week to give them money to mom and home. There's so many situations where as a normal situation as a coach, you would say absolutely not. The kid's not there. This is a different situation.
It's life.
It's more in your face life.
Yep.
And I couldn't be prouder of my kids and my coaches. I'm telling you, it was our best coaching job, and I'll always be indebted to Valley Christian, and I'll always be indebted to these kids. They have a friend. I told them, seniors, you have a friend for life in me.
Yep.
And you ever need anything, Hake's here, and I'll do anything I can to help you.
I love it. I mean, you talked about it. The hill's we all have hills to climb.
Sure.
But the hill's just a little bit steeper for some of those guys and what they're facing on a day-to-day basis. All right, let's get to – we're all proud of you, by the way,
well,
and all your kids.
I really appreciate that, and I never look for
not looking for sympathy?
I don't look for – you're coaching, and you know this. You're not coaching for parents.
Right.
You're not coaching for the administration. You're not coaching for the town. You're coaching for the kids.
Yep.
And when you realize that and you come to that realization, it's so much more rewarding. Winning and losing, being good to people, being good to kids, and then having them become empowered to take control of their own destiny. And it's really something to see. And I think for the kids, they can take a lot of these memories and a lot of experiences and help propel them into some great things the rest of their lives.
I love it. I love it. You're doing great things. Your staff's doing great things, and these kids are doing great things because of that. So, all right, let's turn the page. We have a ton to talk about. Some of these local matchups are, we're dogs in some of them. We're dogs, but we are that pit bull in the yard here in the Grit City. So let's talk D2 first. Fitch and Hoban. Hoban, a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Fitch really plays well in that underdog role. Do you feel like the Falcons can fly into a situation with Hoban and walk out with the dub?
Well, I watched the Fitch Harding game on Friday night.
That shocked a lot of people too.
And you know what? One thing I told my kids about before the game, Warren Harding's a city team. And they make mistakes like everybody else. But the one thing I admire about Warren Harding, they're a real team. Whether it's a good or bad situation, they're constantly talking to each other. Patting each other on the back, and they're very unique, Warren Harding. And I know it's a city school and this and that. They have rich history. They're well coached.
Yep.
And the thing with Arnold, he's a great disciplinarian.
Yep.
He's going to refuse to let guys screw around and do their own thing. And they played Fitch dog tough.
Yep.
And it's hard to beat a team twice in a row.
It sure is.
Twice in a season, let alone back-to-back weeks.
That was incredible.
So you got to give a lot of credit to Fitch. And they had some heroic play. Their quarterback's a tremendous guy.
Devin Sherwood.
He's tremendous.
Yep.
And their coach did some great things, I think, and made good calls. He did. He made good calls. And it seems like they're coming back from injury. They were banged up earlier.
Very unhealthy, and now they're like you said, they're coming back.
It's coming back. Some really nice wideouts.
Yep.
Their defense played very fast in that game. They hung in there because Harding hit plays.
Yep.
And there was times when I thought, oh God, here comes Warren. And Fitch, were able to thwart him off and hang in there. And I give a lot of fighting spirit to Fitch. And you know what? Them playing Hoban, of course most people are going to say, Hoban has an all-star team. Hoban plays much better competition throughout the year. But this is the playoffs. You have a chip in a chair. I'm sure that Fitch, who has an ego themselves, you're right, and they're going to say, bring it on. They're not going to back down.
Right.
I absolutely feel they have a shot.
I love it.
I absolutely feel that they have a shot to win that game. And I would not bet against Fitch. I would say that it's a 50-50 game. Now, you know what? If you have to play a clean game in this one.
Yep.
For Fitch to win this game, they can't have a bunch of turnovers and penalties and then hey, we can win. No, you can't. And it's not that. It's when you're playing a team that has better Jimmies and Joes, maybe all around, you can't shoot yourselves in the foot. So I think a big thing that I'm sure Coach Parker is talking about this week is, guys, we got to play a clean game.
Yeah. Not perfect, clean.
There is no perfect.
Yeah.
But play clean.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be having punts blocked. You can't be, having kick returns brought back.
Turnovers deep in your zone.
You can't do that stuff and give them a short field because Hoban's going to score. It has limited their scoring. Keep it a dog fight. I just don't see. I know Fitch can score and move the ball. I don't see them winning 49-42.
I don't think so.
I think that they got to play football and play, Northeast Ohio football when it's cold out. Play field position. Don't be afraid to punt. I like Fitch in this game. I really do. I think they have a lot of character. They played some real tight games this year. They won some, they lost some. But when you play those real tight games, even that Ursuline game, they lost by 1 point earlier. That's a character-building game. And I think that, Fitch has learned a lot, and I've watched him a couple times on TV. I think a lot of their team, I think that quarterback is All-State if there ever was one.
Yep.
And, I'm sure he's really up for this one. I think you'll get the best out of him.
Legacy game for a lot of these guys, especially the seniors.
That Simmons kid's tremendous.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? What is that his name, Simon?
He's
Simmons?
out. He's not there anymore. He's at West Virginia.
No. Then who's the receiver they have? They have a great receiver.
They have a bunch of talent on the outside.
Tell you the truth, they do. They have a couple guys.
DJ Williams in the backfield, only a sophomore.
Now he was back last week.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He
And they've got
runs hard.
options. They've got options in the backfield.
Okay, you know what? I'd be pressed not to. You know what? That game's even. I would say that game's even. As much as people are going to say Hoban's going to win by 2-3 scores. I think to me that game's even, and Fitch got to play clean. They can win.
Let's look at D3.
Yeah.
Hubbard and Canfield. I mean, gloves are off on this one. 2 9-1 teams.
It's a shame that you don't see these two play in the regular season.
Right.
They're both D3. I think both programs are top notch. Throw out that last week or 2 weeks ago when Hubbard lost to South Range. That was a big game, and things didn't go their way. That's a team only lost one game, which Canfield's lost 2.
Nope, one. They're both 9-1. Yep. And Canfield lost their game early.
Was it at Dover?
I think it was Dover.
Well, and it was tight, 21-14, I believe.
Yeah,
it was a real tight game.
Good game. Great game.
And they've also rattled off some big wins this year. Fitch, Boardman, and this is as of late. So they're peaking at the right moment, and their coaching staff is top notch. It's hard for me to think that Hubbard would go in there and beat them. Saying that, anything can happen in the playoffs. That quarterback for them, for Canfield, is a tremendous, tremendous talent. He's a junior.
Yep.
Brock
Lowry. Yes, sir.
And he can do it all. He can throw. He can run.
93 yards the other night? I mean, he's incredible.
He runs like a tailback.
Yeah.
A shifty tailback.
Like a deer.
And then he can throw as good as anybody. And I know that Canfield traditionally wants to run the ball.
Yep.
But he's probably opened up the playbook more and more as the year went on, and I think he's a tremendous coach. He is, and he gets the most out of his guys. And the one thing with Canfield is there's expectation. You better do what the coach says, and if you don't, you're gonna be in the doghouse. And
I want to focus on D4 here. We got 3 games. We got Poland West Branch, Salem and Ursuline, and Girard and Perry.
Great matchups.
Out of all those 3, which one catches your attention the most?
Poland West Branch.
You like that? Offense versus defense.
It's different styles of football, and both are very successful at what they do. West Branch has had a magical season. I watched them live against Salem 2 weeks ago, and Salem was game to beat them, and West Branch hung in there, and they didn't play particularly their best game, but great teams play well enough to win when they have to. Their quarterback, DeShields, is
stud.
He's a scholarship kid.
Oh yeah.
and they have some great wideouts, and they play great team football. They really play great team football. It really means a lot for them to put on that West Branch helmet and play for West Branch.
They remind me a lot of South Range, their offense, because
Sure.
they put up points. But I think the South Range defense is a little bit better at this point. Obviously, it's a different division. So when you look at that, Poland didn't lose handily to South Range. So I think it's going to be a little bit more like that. Would you agree?
I think Poland's awesome. Poland's tradition. If Poland runs the ball right at West Branch's face, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because Poland can slow down West Branch's offense by keeping them off the field.
The old Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
Well, I think that would be if I was playing against West Branch, wouldn't that be if you and me were coaching against West
100%.
Hey, don't let them be on the field the whole time because we're not winning 54-49.
Yep.
Poland can keep the ball away from them. They do have the ability to run the ball very
built for it.
effectively. Fulton's a great player.
Yep.
They always play very physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the matchup in that game is the most interesting matchup maybe of all these teams, watching all these teams.
I don't disagree.
Historically, physically ground and pound team. And I know Pavlansky's opened it up a little bit more this year. But I think that they're going to go back to their roots of who they are this week. And West Branch is going to try to counter that with open attack. And I have no idea in that one. You know what? Again, that to me is a Fitch Hoban. Anybody can win. Anybody can win.
D5, we have Bel Air.
Wait a minute. We got to talk about Salem.
You want to talk about
First
Salem?
of all, my family's from Girard.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with the Indians.
Okay.
They have a quarterback, Dom Bengala.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Or Nicholas Bengala.
Yep.
And he's been playing the last few weeks for them.
Yep.
And I coached him
Okay.
at Western Reserve.
Yeah.
This kid's dynamic.
Yeah.
And I know Girard has some other dynamic. Malito, they have guys.
Yep.
This kid, the last few weeks, I think last playoff game, he threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns.
Stud.
And he's a young guy. And I know Perry's probably the favorite, but I root for the Indians.
Don't be surprised if the tribe comes out on top.
I believe the Indians are going to win that game.
I like it.
I really believe they're going to win. Now, they're going to have to play a real clean game, too. But Cochran and the boys, I believe, are going to go down there and beat Perry. Pearson is their head coach. He does a good job.
Great guy.
And one thing with Girard, they've been in these huge games the last few years. And Girard loves football. It's a football town.
Sure is.
It's a football town. It's a sports town. So I believe, Perry might be the better team and better players, but I'm saying Girard gets an upset in that game.
Okay. Here's the question I got to ask you about the Salem and Ursuline. I'm not saying that you need to pick a winner.
Uh-huh.
The over-under in that game has to be through the roof. Through the roof.
They can both score.
100? Is that fair?
Oh, here's what it's going to come down to with Salem. When you play a team like Ursuline and you're Salem, and I always tell my kids this, when you're playing someone that on paper is better than you, if that team's here and we're here and we raise our game, the question is, can they raise theirs?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
do.
Because if Salem rises up and decides we're not worrying about all this other stuff, advantages you might have, we're going to be game like we were against West Branch, then the question is, will Ursuline? Ursuline has better personnel. Period.
Yep.
But Salem has dangerous guys.
That believe.
And after watching West Branch, you're not going to tell me that you don't believe as much as anybody. Their quarterback's a gutsy guy.
Junior.
It's the coach's son.
Yep, Jackson Johnson.
They play spirited. They play as a team. If they can raise their game up and challenge Ursuline, and they need a steal here or there. They need a turnover. They need something.
And they seem to get it when they need it.
Don't they?
They're unbelievable.
And if they can do that, the question will become, can Ursuline?
Okay, so from that standpoint, as a coach, when you look at this game, is it the last team that has the football or the first team that has a stop?
If Salem raises their game up and is able to match intensity, tenacity, and play with Ursuline, maybe it does come down to that. If you're just a bet man and you look at those two teams, you're going to say Ursuline by 21.
Well, here's the thing: is we've seen Ursuline outlast this season, right?
And
Even their
play,
first game.
They play different people
Right.
throughout the season. Ursuline, you can't take nothing away from them. They've had some character-building games against Warren Harding one by one. Fitch, you won by 1.
Yep.
Those are the 2 best teams in the area. Those are the 2 biggest perennial winners in the area.
What people will tell you, though, Coach, is that the close game favors Ursuline because they've been able to win those close games, and Salem has not. So when
Salem's only going to win in a close game.
Can Salem get that win? I mean, I guess can
When
Salem
do they play? Friday?
They play Friday. Yep, D4.
We'll find out Friday. Because if you just looked at the matchup, you take Ursuline.
Yep.
But Ursuline has been mortal. But who have they been mortal against? They've been mortal against Villa Angela St. Joe's.
Fitch. Really?
Well, they won.
They won. They still won. But
there's only a few teams that, Chardon, they were down big time, and then they came back.
Yep.
And Ursuline is great coached. They have great personnel.
Yep.
So, you know what, Ursuline really, at this point, are they the favorites to win D4? You'd be hard-pressed to say they're not.
Yeah.
But anything can happen.
This is the game of all the Quakers' careers. And for Ursuline, what's crazy is it's just another game for them.
Yes. So, will Salem raise their game? And if
like
they
it.
do, the question becomes, will Ursuline match it?
We're here at Kufleitner Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram here in Boardman. The Wagoneer behind us, man.
Cold-blooded, baby.
Oh, mama, is that sweet looking.
Cold-blooded.
I saw the commercials for it. They got the flag, and they talk about why the flag is backwards because everybody's going forward. Same as on the patch on the armed forces.
We love our country here.
Oh, man, do we ever. Do we ever. D5. I'm so excited to get to this because you got Garrettsville, right, playing Bel Air, and then you have Crestwood playing South Range. Garrettsville on a crash course if they win with you-know-who, the team that starts with a K and ends with Ertland. But people feel South Range on that same collision course. When you look at these 2 teams, do both of our locals get by?
Yes. I'm not going to say one thing about Garrettsville other than they're damn good. They're good. They're physical.
Fun to watch.
They're tough. They run that single wing.
Playing in a phone booth.
And they do it as good as anybody.
Their games are literally, you put them on the clock, 45 minutes.
I don't know how. I'm nothing against Bel Air. Teams on the river are fun. Either they're really good or they're not.
Yep.
And Bel Air's had a good year. I just do not think they could take the physicality that Garrettsville's going to give them. I don't. And the more you watch Garrettsville, Garrettsville has beaten good. Their league is good. That's not an average league. Playing Crestview,
MVAC,
LeBray, Brookfield, and they've scalded a few of them. So you know what? I'd be hard-pressed to say that that's going to go that one could be 30-pointed. I think so.
South Range, so. Team of Destiny?
Same deal. Look at who they look how they played all year. Mm-hmm. Look at their story. Would Garrettsville play Kirtland after this game?
Yes.
Okay.
They would get locked up, and then South Range would play the winner of that if they were able to get by.
My comment's going to be this. Kirtland better be game. They have to play those 2 teams in a row, maybe. They better be game.
That's a gauntlet.
And I think the world of Tiger, and I think that he runs the best program in this state. Mm-hmm. People avoid...
Longest winning streak in America,
well,
by the way.
Now, come on. He runs the best program in this state. Throw out everything and just look at the actual, let the candid facts be presented to the world. Tiger Laverty, I don't want to say best coach because there's so many good coaches, but
hard-pressed not to.
He runs the best program in the state. Yep. He gets in a stack eye, and he dares you. And he has the guys that do it, motivates them to play, executes, and when it counts the most, they come through. To say all that, Garrettsville and South Range are like gauntlets
up to the task.
Oh,
without a doubt.
If South Range was ever going to do it,
it's this year.
And you know what? We talk so much about South Range because of the league they played. Mm-hmm. Garrettsville is no slouch.
No.
And
there's a lot of people that kind of, when Garrettsville shows up in the room, everybody else kind of looks the other way because that's a team you don't want to face unless you have to.
You don't want to talk about them as much and put them up there with these great teams, but you don't want to play them.
Sure.
So you know what? I would say Garrettsville is going to win this game, and they're going to challenge Kirtland the next week.
D6, a couple of big matchups.
Great games.
Brookfield, LeBray. What we got last year from that game, 55, 51, something like that. I mean, they scored 100 points easy. That was a barn burner. And then you have Norway and Springfield. If you remember correctly, Coach, that was the Boilermaker game that Springfield won at the last second on the trick play that really propelled them into where they ended up in the state championship.
I have so much respect for all those 4 teams. Brookfield, Randy Clark gets his kids to play every single year.
Yep.
And he doesn't have the most talented
Right.
teams. I bet you he coaches like a pirate because he gets his guys to play like their hair's on fire. I have a lot of respect for Randy. They played so tough this year. I've seen a couple of their games, and they're a tough team. LeBray, I played them earlier in this year, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Receivers, quarterback, running back, good line. Armini has done a tremendous job. You know what? That's an even game to me. Throw out records. I think that's a rivalry game.
Let it fly.
Let it fly. I'm probably going to that one.
Okay.
That's the one I'll be at. I want to see that one. That's a live game for Coach Hake this week. And the other one, Norway and Springfield, I'm very familiar with these teams. I played them both the last few years. We played up at Norway and got lucky against them. My last year at reserve, they're loaded. And
they're looking for revenge.
oh,
you know
boy,
that.
and they were really good last year playing Springfield. That game could have went either way.
Yep.
And Springfield local just continues to amaze everybody in the area, Mr. Brungard. And you know what? I don't remember recalling. Maybe Lynn Bowden, maybe Maurice Claret, L.J. Scott.
That's them.
Those
Wow.
living legends.
Yeah.
When you're playing high school football and you're a legend,
Build the statue.
Bo Brungard is the best quarterback in the area. Bo Brungard is the best football player in the area. If I was drafting a team, I'd draft him number 1, and I'd give him the farm. Not his own farm either. I know he has one. I think the world of this kid. I think in big moments, nobody shines brighter. And I'm not saying it because of you just have to watch him throughout the year, and he makes his team play. Take him off that team, they're good.
Yep.
But
Put them on, they're great.
Now put him on any team in the area, and they become so much better.
Yep.
I think he's the best player in this area. And I'm not mocking the other players. I mean, Sherwood, this running back from Hubbard,
Yep.
Caffey.
TC Caffey.
I mean, and there's so many guys. Where do you start and stop? I would start with that guy.
This might be the toughest year of all to pick one guy for Player of the Year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to go wrong 10 times over.
I'm picking him.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
And I'm not saying it to mock the other guys, because you see on here. I mean, that guy from Salem had a tremendous year. The Shields had a tremendous year. Sherwood is a real leader. The quarterback from Harding.
Yep.
What's his name? He's great.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
great. But when
Dylan
it comes,
Dominguez. I mean, you look at
Dominguez, their quarterback from
Skirpak.
Come on.
Yeah, you
and
look
there's guys
across.
on every team that are tremendous.
Aiden Stevens and LeBray.
Oh,
I mean,
my-
you got a
Is he
three-headed
going to
monster
Yale?
there. Yeah.
But I believe that the body of work that this guy has done over the last 3 years, taking his team to 2 state championships, riding the wave of that last year, and if he's not on the team, they're not even in it.
Yep.
And now this year, I mean, it's hard-pressed for me to think that Springfield doesn't win the region because of him.
Yep.
And I would pick him as the Big 22 Player of the Year.
Yep.
And that's my pick, and I don't know anything, so you know what I mean? Opinions are like you know what. Everybody got one, and that's mine.
Let's quickly glaze over D7 because when you look at it, it's Heights versus JFK.
Yeah.
And listen, no disrespect, but JFK is on an absolute tear right now.
Yeah.
57-0 last week. I think another game that could be very similar this week. You and I kind of talked about it off. JFK is very impressive.
It's going to be. I played Heights last week, and they're really well coached. And Al Martin has taken his team to state championships. JFK's been to state championships, so they're not unbeknownst to that.
Yep.
I just think that Kennedy's front seven, if you can't throw the ball and you don't have a good passing game, they're going to eat you up.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some big linemen, physical guys. They run the ball extremely well. And Heights is going to have to play a perfect game. And they must have against us because they only had one penalty or whatever. So I don't see them beating Kennedy. I don't. You know what? If they can hang in there with them, I would be slack-jawed. And it's not mocking their coach. They have a great program.
Yep.
You know what? I think Cuyahoga Heights' program is every bit as good as Kennedy's.
Yep.
It's just
execution.
And it's Jimmy's and Joe's.
Yeah.
It's just who you have. And Heights runs that midline veer, and I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball successfully against Kennedy enough.
I'm going to say something to you, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I feel this Kennedy team is better than last year's because it's not all. Listen, we heard about Cam last year, and it was
the quarterback.
You stop Cam, it's over, and that's what happened in the state championship. This year, it's spread out. How do you stop that? I mean, D7, they're playing D2 teams sometimes, and you used to play Howland. I'm really impressed with JFK, and they were my pick to win a state championship. They remain my pick to win a state championship this
I think
year.
it's going to be very difficult to beat them in that region. Dalton, I think, has the best shot.
Yep.
But they haven't played anybody like that yet.
No.
Nothing against Dalton. Dalton's great.
Yep.
And they have a great quarterback, running back combo. And I think they will end up playing Kennedy. And we'll talk about that game when it comes. But I just feel that Kennedy is going to overpower that region, and they're on a collision course with Marion Local, and I'll be there for that one.
There it is, the rundown right here of all the local matchups. You'll be able to catch all of them on ysnlive.com this Friday, this Saturday, all for $9.99. That's pretty special deal, especially when it's $10 to get a ticket at the game per person. So we are again here from Kufleitner Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram here in Boardman. The Wagoneer behind us, one of the newest models here on the showroom floor. It's a beauty, and if you need one, you need to get here quick because they are going fast. That's Andy Hake for this week's Coach's Corner. We'll see you next week with more from the coach.
USA.